All right, we are back working on the mini-me swap, the D15b8 with the Y7 head. Today we're going to work on the head, cleaning that up, get it mounted onto the block, and then set the timing. As I mentioned in the previous video, we have these ARP head bolts or studs, and we do have one that broke when we did that engine over there forever ago, so we use just a regular head bolt. But the problem with this is, like I said in the last video, this stud right here is taller than the rest of them, so I don't know if that's gonna be a problem, but we will see. Now, as far as the head, I've been over here cleaning all this gunk off of the surface, and I'm using a 2000 grit sandpaper. Yeah, I know I'm sanding it, but I'm not really taking any material off. I am literally just cleaning all this goop off. Because if you can see where the machine work was done, it's still, it hasn't scuffed it, it hasn't done anything to it. This head was previously machined when we did the head gasket on the other block, which was years ago. I'm going to continue on with cleaning the rest of this gunk off, and I am thinking about cleaning up the surface of the block as well with a 2000 grit, just so I know for sure the mating surfaces are clean and everything should connect properly. All right, we got the head cleaned up and the mating surface of the block pretty much cleaned up. Nothing crazy, but as you can see, the studs do not fit this block at all. There's like the long one would work, but the rest of them not so much. And then maybe the one at the end down here, but that's really it. We're going to have to use the original head bolts that were in this right here. I don't even know if they're any different, or they just don't go down deep or they just don't tighten down deep into the block. I don't know. We'll have to pull one of the studs out and measure it with this right here. All right, so here's the differences between, these were the head bolts that were in it, these are the head studs. There's obviously a lot more thread right here than there is over here. They're pretty much the same height. I think this right here will make all the difference, because then it's not necessary to screw it all the way in like it is the stud. You have like that much more thread. And when I took the Y8 head off of this block, it did have a Y7 Y8 head gasket. That's what I am using to replace it. It is a Y7 Y8 head gasket. Let's go ahead and put the head on. And now let's use these head bolts that were in it. And one thing to note, all the head bolts were the same size. Usually this one in the center and the back is a little bit longer than the rest of them, but all of these head bolts are the same. All right, so this bolt right here on the 4th cylinder in the back, it is too long. So I think I'm gonna put the stud in here, because I don't think I have any other head bolts that, you know, might fit. I don't know. All right, I found this head bolt. It is quite a bit shorter than that one, but it sticks up about half that distance. So I think this is probably gonna work. Now, as far as how good it is, I don't know. Will it break? I don't know. We'll see. All right, well, we got the head bolted down. We still need to torque it. And then we have the timing to do. You know, there ain't a whole lot left. Today we're going to torque the head bolts, set the timing. On the Y7, the torque specs are like 14, 36, 49. On the D15b8, it's like 22 and then 48. I personally like 3 stages, so I'm gonna do a 15, a 35, and then a 50. I honestly don't think it matters as long as all of them are torqued down evenly and your final torque isn't more than what the head bolts can handle. All right, and obviously the torque sequence is you start in the center, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, back and forth. That way you evenly tighten your bolts and you start in the center and work your way out. All right, that went pretty smooth. We're gonna go back and check them all. one last time to make sure they're all set on 50. All right, they're all set on 50, and now we can start on the timing. All right, the first thing we want to do is get our tensioner pulley put on and our crank gear. The tensioner pulley has this little hole right here, and that will fit onto this little stud right here. As you can see, I'm just going to zip this on. We're not going to tighten it all the way though. And then we have a spring that will go on here and then over to here. Just like that. And we mustn't forget this. Now on the gear we have this little notch right here. That needs to line up with this arrow. Alright, we got it all lined up. Alright, so on the cam here, there's an up arrow, and then there's a notch here and a notch here. So that needs to go up. And then these two notches need to be level with the top of the block. Alright, so we have that notch right there, level with the block. This notch right here, level with the block. Alright, now we can get our belt on. It goes over the top, over the water pump, up around the tensioner, down under the crank pulley, and then back up. Alright, so we ran into a bit of a problem here. The belt will hit this. I can't tighten it up anymore because it hits that, and it seems to be awfully loose. So I can't tighten it up any more than what it already is. This is a mini-me swap, so you are going to run into some problems like this. And I was assuming because I'm using the Y7 crank pulley and the Y7 cam, I wouldn't run into this problem. And the water pump pulley is the exact same dimension, same size. I don't know if it has the same teeth on it, but I would think so. The crank gear that was on the engine when I got it is exactly the same. Same teeth, same everything. That doesn't seem to be an issue. Now this is the belt that was on it. I am not sure if this is a Y7 or a D15b8, or I mean, it could be a Z6 belt, I don't know. So we're going to try this belt on here and see what happens. Another thing, the tensioner that was on here is a lot smaller, so this may change things. Let's go ahead and swap everything out and try to find the right combination. Alright, so I swapped over to the belt that was on here. I'm not sure what belt it is though, but let me find out. I'll look it up with the part number. Alright, so the belt that you want to use is the D16 Y7 belt. I have the D16 Y7 crank pulley, cam pulley, and the belt. Everything lines up perfectly. The water pump is a D15b8, and that's only because the water pump on the Y7 is longer or shorter. It's shorter over here. It wouldn't go all the way across, or else I would have used it. And again, I'm not sure why the Y7 crank pulley has this extra bit on here. It's extended. I don't know why. This should work just fine. It is the same diameter, has the same amount of teeth. And if you wanted to use the D15b8 crank pulley, this is the exact same diameter and has the same amount of teeth as the Y7. And again, the reason I went with the Y7 oil pump, so I can use the mounting for the crank positioning sensor. And again, that's why I used the Y7 crank gear as well. And again, that's why I had to fill the hole in over here, because the dipstick on the B8 is over here in the center, but on the Y engines, they're over here in the side. So let's get this tightened up. We need to crank it counterclockwise, like by 3 teeth, but I only do it just enough to tighten this belt up. And that's it. Now we can pull down or push up on the tensioner and tighten that down. And then what we'll do is we'll crank it all around and then make sure all the timing marks line up again. All right, so we got it tightened down. Now I did struggle with getting this. I would be like a half a tooth off, and I think that's because the either the height of the block or the height of the head is different than if the whole thing were just a D15b8. So let's measure the blocks and see if there's a difference, a height difference. It is 9 and looks like 3/8. All right, so on this block it is 9 1/4. It's basically an 1/8 of an inch taller. That would explain why it was like a half a tooth off, and it wasn't exactly a full half tooth. It was like a quarter of a tooth off. And so all I did was I cranked the timing or the crank just enough to get that tooth to fit in there, and it's lined up. I mean, the marks are still lined up really good. Now if you wanted to fix this and keep your timing marks perfect, then I would suggest getting a adjustable cam gear. That way you can adjust exactly where the teeth of the gear are gonna be. But I think this will work, and I don't believe that we'll have any problems. All right, so just for a brief overview here, we've got the Y7 oil pump, the Y7 crank pulley, we've got the D15b8 tensioner, the D15b8 water pump, the Y7 timing belt, and the Y7 cam pulley. It all lines up. It's almost perfect. I mean, it's off by just a hair, but I don't really think that's gonna matter. I guess only time will tell once we get it installed. And we're gonna use the Y7 crank pulley and the Y7 timing cover. So when we do the timing for the distributor, we can see if all that lines up properly. All right, so I'm not sure how much footage I have for this video. It may be short, it may be long. I have no clue at this point because it's been like 2 days. But I'm gonna end it here, and in tomorrow's video or our next video, I'm gonna be at the junkyard and I'm going to pull the Y7 intake manifold, because I believe there are 2 or 3 99, or I think it's a 99 or 2000 EKs with the Y7 engine in them. So that's what we're going to do in the next video, and we might even be putting the engine in the car in the next video, but if not, that will be in the next video. So with all that being said, I appreciate all of you subscribers. I appreciate all the views, and if you're not a subscriber, go ahead and please hit that subscribe button, and I will see you all in the next video.